Hello, my name is Dr. Drtredtv, and I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and I'm also the owner and the doctor at the Slim Body Laser Spa located in Stewart. And I'm here to talk about chiropractic today. So originally, I'm a chiropractor. 34 years I've been in practice. My father graduated from Palmer School of Chiropractic back in 1950. He raised all of his children with an idea of health and wellness from a chiropractic point of view. I'm so grateful for that knowledge that he gave us and that chance to be healthy and to have options. I'm not against medicine. Trust me, I understand the importance of medicine, but in chiropractic we have a saying. It's chiropractic first, medicine second, and surgery last. Yet most people are putting medicine first, and then of course surgery and things last. They can do surgery before anything else, and that's crazy. It's not a great idea. So this is a presentation that I had given to my clients many years ago, and I revamped it a little bit. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to bring it up on screen here and minimize me off to the left, and let's get started. I see. This is a presentation, and your life and your health is dependent on a free flow of energy from the brain to the body. Chiropractic adjustments ensure that this flow of energy remains uninterrupted, and thus your body will be able to heal itself. Okay, and that's just a basic summary of everything I'm going to go into here today in this presentation. Is your body has the ability to heal itself, and it's truly far greater than anyone has really allowed you to believe. This is something that has been we've been lied to about this. Okay, and your body is incredible. I mean, just incredible at healing. It's the only thing that heals. When you break a bone, we put it in a cast and a splint so it heals straight. It's going to heal regardless. When you have a cut and you put a band-aid on it, the band-aid is there to prevent the dirt from getting in it so it heals without a scar. But trust me, it will heal without it. When you get sick with an infection and somebody puts you on antibiotics, antibiotics are simply to overcome some of the bacterial load from the bacteria, and it doesn't heal the body. The body heals itself. And so we're very confused about this fact that the body heals itself. But without a proper functioning nervous system, a brain, a spinal cord, and then the spinal bones all being in alignment, and then being able to transfer those messages back and forth to the body, health is very difficult to maintain. So that's where chiropractors come in. All right, so I hope you enjoy this. So let's get started. All right, now modern medicine, are they truly the guardians of our health? We've given them a big role. So we're going to go over some facts about healthcare in America, the costs of healthcare in America. Why are they not able to make us healthier? Why are we number 130, I think, in industrialized nations? We spend more money than most of the nations put together, yet our level of health and longevity is less than, there's 100 other countries that are healthier than we are. And why is that? And also, I'm going to go over a little bit about the business of medicine here, okay? So, in 1960, your chances of dying from cancer were 1 in 30. And your chances of dying from heart disease were 1 in 10. Today, when I did this talk in 2009, it's still the same. Your chances of dying from cancer are 1 out of 3. And your chance of having die from heart disease is 1 out of 2. So turn and look at your friend or your family, and if there's somebody next to you, one of you are going to die from heart disease. That's the statistic. And if there's 3 of you there, one's going to die of cancer. In 1960, that was 60 years ago. I'm 62. I was born in 1960. Your chances of dying from cancer were 1 in 30. And heart disease, 1 out of every 10. 1 in 3 adults, or 69 million persons, suffer from arthritis. 17.5 million persons have diabetes, and there are 1 million new cases each year, costing a staggering $174 billion per year. The Iraq War has only cost us around 50 billion. So, in the USA, in 1998, 67% of the persons who saw their MD had received a diagnosis of depression. 67%. The use of antidepressants, Prozac, in the USA is growing faster than any other drug ever produced. In the USA, 6.5% of the children who see an MD for emotional behavioral problems are given antidepressants. In the general population, 11% of the women and 5% of the men are taking some form of drug for depression. That number has been eclipsed by the use of semaglutide and Ozempic right now. Prozac was made by Novo Nordisk, which is the company that made Prozac. Now they've created the semaglutide and Ozempic. It is the #1 prescribed drug today. Just to bring you a little knowledge about that. In the 2000 edition of the Journal of the American Medical Association, the industry's paper, publication, says that the USA spends more than 13% of its gross national product on healthcare. The USA is ranked 37th in the overall health system performance, putting us between Costa Rica and Slovenia. The USA is ranked 24th of the WHO nations when it comes to healthcare. The 2000 edition of the Journal of the American Medical Association reports the following: 30% of all hospital discharges on people that are over 70 years old have a diagnosis of an adverse medical event while under care at the hospital. 30% have been injured somehow. Adverse medical event is what they call it. 12,000 of your friends and people you know die per year from unnecessary surgery. 7,000 deaths a year from medication errors in hospitals. 20,000 deaths per year from other errors in hospitals. 80,000 deaths per year from nosocomial infections. And these are infections that we get being in a hospital because they have so many germs. 106,000 deaths per year from non-error adverse effects of medicine given properly. Now, this statistic came up when Clinton was, I remember this very well, and he did a study, Clinton, did a study on how many unnecessary, medical mistakes were being held, and it was over 200,000 even back then. I think it's gotten more since then, but it sure hasn't gone down. So 200,000 people will die due to medical errors in the USA this year. That is equivalent to 2 747 jumbo jet airliners crashing every day. Think of how you would be surprised and appalled if you found out that 2 jumbo jetliners every single day crashed and burned and nothing was done to really change it, to stop that from happening. 2 planes full of people every day. That's how many people are dying from medical errors in the USA in the year 2000. After autopsy, over 50% of their diagnoses were wrong. So what happened is the Harvard University did a study on the effectiveness of diagnoses, and they wanted to know just how many people, how correct they were when their diagnoses. Now, Harvard has the ability to take people through their illness and then take care of them, and then a lot of people, if they do die, they can do the autopsies. So they're able to perform autopsies to see how effective they were at their diagnoses. And what they found out was is that they were so ineffective that over 50% of their diagnoses were wrong, completely wrong. And that led to, it's because that there's so many diseases now. There's over 10,000 diagnoses in the Merck Manual of Diagnosis, and they lead to cognitive errors and diagnostic errors. It's so difficult to measure. So if Harvard is getting 50% wrong, think of the normal MD in the school down the road from you. They also wanted to find out how successful they were in overall results. When they did determine the proper diagnosis, how successful were they in treating it, curing it? They found that the patient's entrance diagnosis was rarely, and rarely means like 3% ever cured. Most of those patients eventually died with their original diagnosis. They did, however, prolong their life using supportive procedures like chemo, radiation, drugs, and surgery. So basically, they suffered comfortably before they died. That's what I get from that. Why is this? Why is this happening? I would tell you that it's not really a fault of the healthcare system. It's more of a fault the fact that there's just too many people sick, and a doctor is too busy saving lives. It's not their fault. And this is a story of a bridge over the water, and a young, a super intelligent med doctor, ER guy was coming back from the hospital. He'd been there for a 24-hour shift. He slept in the extra room, as they called him, for new people, completely dedicated to his job. And finally, he had a break to go home, and he's driving down the road along the river, and he sees somebody drowning in the river, screaming, "Help, help, I need help." So he stops his car, he jumps out, he runs out, he rescues the person from the water and pumps the water out of him and basically saves his life. And as he's getting ready to hand it over, there's another person coming down the river. "Help, help, I'm dying, help me, I'm drowning." And he jumps in, swims over, grabs another person, pulls him out, and before he could get that one out of the water, there's another one coming down the river. I mean, there's just person after person. He can't do anything. And here's the problem. Nobody is getting up to see who's throwing them in the water. Who's pushing these people off the bridge? Why there's so many? And it's not their fault. It's not the doctor's fault. It really isn't. The system is just people so sick. And why is that? I always tell a story when I do these talks about there was a town built under a cliff. Town built under a cliff. And what does that mean? So there was a town that was built, basically there was a town in the New Mexico area where there's lots of cliffs and sharp corners. And there was one corner where the cars would go around, and it was a sharp corner, and on the corner was a cliff. And what would happen is the cars would go too fast, or they wouldn't negotiate the corner, and they would, fall into the cliff, into the ravine, and blow up, and it was just horrible. And the town would send ambulances from the town, which is about 30 miles away, and by the time the ambulance would get there, the people would be dead. They couldn't help them, or they'd be so horrifically injured that they would die on the way to the hospital. So the town got together and said, we got to do something about this. And what they did was they decided to pass a tax, and they were going to build an ambulance corps in closer to the cliff, down lower, so when people did go over the edge, they could be there and be there quicker to help them. And they passed the law, they got taxed, they built this building there, and sure enough, certain ambulance drivers were put in there, and they waited, and when people came off the cliff, it was much better. They could get to them quicker. They were able to save some lives, but some of the lives were lost on the way to the hospital. It was a 30-40 minute drive, and they needed to do something better than they were doing there. And they had a referendum, and the community agreed that they would pay their tax money to build a better triage center, somewhere where people could at least be stabilized before they transported them to the hospital. And they did so. And as they built this triage, it was getting a little larger, and they needed some people there to man it, and some staff and some people to do cleanup and infectious disease and other things. But they were able to save some lives because they could stabilize people before they would actually have to get in the ambulance and go to the hospital. Well, that wasn't working as well as they were hoping. They were still losing people, and a referendum was passed by the community, and they made a decision to build a full-fledged hospital at the base of this cliff. And it made sense. That way they could help people, they could rehab them, get them stronger, get them better, and that's what they did. And as they built the hospital, they brought in nurses, and they brought in doctors, and there was administrative staff that had to be there, and there was people that took care of the building and maintenance, and at the same time. So these new people started working there, and they started buying lots and property close by, and some developers said, this is a great opportunity to put up some apartment buildings for all these nurses and these doctors that are here for this under this cliff. And so nurses have children, and children need school, and they brought a school in there, and they also had playgrounds, and they needed recreation, so they built up movie theaters, and of course they needed some stores for food, and they built several stores. Had come over, other businesses in the area saw the opportunity, and they came and built their own businesses there because they could see that this was a new upbuilding area there that people were moving into in order to help the people that are coming off this cliff. And a whole town gets built underneath this, supported by the injuries from people driving off the cliff. And somebody came along, I like to say a chiropractor, but probably not. And somebody goes, wow, why don't you put a fence up or a guardrail up along that cliff, and or alert people that there's a cliff and force them to slow down or something to stop it? The town was horrified. Well, that's misinformation. What do you mean? Walls don't work. They'll still go over it. They'll bust through it to get through it. Yeah, but it might help. Yeah, well, you know what? You're a kook. Get out of town. We don't want to hear about it. Everything is fine. We're taking care of people. We don't need to do that. And then somebody else comes along and says, we need to figure out, maybe we're diverting the road a different way so it doesn't turn so sharp up here. And then the ecologists in the area, that means we're going to have to plow into an area where there's this protected frog that lives up there in that one area, and he's a lone survivor. And if we divert the road, that frog's going to perish. So are you okay with killing frogs or these beautiful little animals? That's what's going to happen if you divert the road. In other words, everybody fought it, and they never corrected the curve. They didn't put up a fence. And to this day, that town is still there, making money, surviving, building economy off of a cliff where people are perishing. Now, obviously, that's a fictitious story. But you know what? There's a lot of truth in that. You know it, and I know it. Medicine is big business. And I did a little research. I went on ChatGPT, and I said, give me the top 10 most successful business models in America today. Top 10. Income, people being employed, and such. You know what number one was? Hospitals. Yeah, hospitals. Number one. Number two was toiletries and over-the-counter medications and things you would buy at the store on your own for health and for personal care. That's number two. Number three was the pharmacological big pharmacies. No, not big pharmacies, but big pharma. Pfizer, this drug industry is number three. You know what number four was? health insurance to make sure that you got the money to pay for all of the sickness and the drugs and all the toiletries, the things you need. That was the top four. I didn't go past that. So this town under a cliff is true, but that is a problem. All right. It's not the doctor's fault, okay, you guys. The business of medicine has lost touch with what it really takes to help a patient get well. That is teaching and motivating, prevention and wellness. The Latin definition of doctor is teacher, not prescriber. Doctors are overworked, mostly underpaid, swimming in the fear of medical malpractice, the bureaucracy of insurance, Medicare, managed care, not to mention whenever you speak up against the government issued health care and government issued drugs, you will be definitely ostracized and pushed out of the system just by questioning it. For every new drug approved by the FDA, several drugs are taken off due to the harm they're causing. They're so inundated by sick people, they don't have the time or the chance to teach prevention or motivate wellness. Well, chiropractic care includes chiropractic, and we have come to the rescue of you poor people. All right. So, chiropractic was discovered. No problem here with my Zoom. Chiropractic was discovered in 1895 by Daniel David Palmer. The story goes that Harvey Lillard was a janitor in the Lion Block where Palmer had his office. Harvey Lillard had been so deaf for 17 years that he could not hear the racket of a wagon on the street or the ticking of a watch. Palmer made an inquiry as to the cause of his deafness and was informed that when he was exerting himself in a cramped, stooping position, he felt something give away in his back and immediately became deaf. An examination showed a vertebra racked, meaning misplaced from its normal position. Palmer reasoned that if the vertebra was replaced, the man's hearing should be restored. With this object in view, a half an hour's talk persuaded Mr. Lillard to allow him to replace it. He said he racked it into position by using the spinous process as a lever, and soon, it was 3 days actually, the man could hear as before. There was nothing accidental about this, as it was accomplished with an object in view, and the result expected was obtained. There was nothing crude about this adjustment. It was specific, so much that no chiropractor has equaled it. His son, B.J. Palmer, D.C., Ph.D., is the man who actually developed the art, the science, and the practice of chiropractic as we know it today. My father, Thomas Rissacker, D.C., Ph.D., was trained by B.J. Palmer and his staff at the time. B.J. didn't die till the 60s, and my dad graduated in 1950. Never get a wireless keyboard. That's all I gotta say. Just like a medical doctor, to become a chiropractor, a person must have a 4-year bachelor degree and then 4 years of chiropractic college. Doctors of chiropractic are considered primary care portal of entry doctors in all 50 states. Chiropractors can perform physical exams, take blood and urine samples, perform EKG, and recommend MRI or CT scans. A chiropractor can do anything a medical doctor can do except prescribe drugs and perform surgery. There are 50,000 licensed chiropractors. How safe is chiropractic? 25 to 30 million adjustments will be given this week. Chiropractors must maintain malpractice insurance. The average cost for chiropractic malpractice is around $1,500 to $3,000. The average cost for medical malpractice is between $8,000 and $50,000, depending on their specialty. 95% of all chiropractic patients surveyed said their experience with a chiropractor was a positive one. Arnold Schwarzenegger, actor and past governor of California, was a huge proponent of chiropractic. He says, I am very fortunate to have an in-house chiropractor with Dr. Franco Colombo, DC. He adjusts my wife, my kids, me, everybody gets an adjustment. We always feel great when Dr. Franco leaves. That's why I travel around the world speaking very highly of doctors of chiropractic. You chiropractors are miracle workers. Tiger Woods, golf celebrity, chiropractic patient. Being a chiropractic patient has really helped me a lot, Tiger Woods says. When I was in a growth spurt, my back became very sore and I was weak. My chiropractor really helped me a lot. Not only did he adjust my spine, but he gave me exercises also. If you are tall or gangly like to play sports, I would recommend seeing a chiropractor. I think if you're breathing, you should think about it. Emmitt Smith, pro football star, chiropractic patient. Emmitt Smith said, I found a chiropractor really good at balancing out my body to make sure my hips are rotated right and my body is functioning properly. Anyone who suspects Smith is exaggerating his chiropractic role in his career need only look at the 33-year-old running back's eyes when he talks about chiropractic. If you have traveled, done what I've done, and seen the results from seeing the chiropractor, then you would understand where I'm coming from. The Yankees baseball team are chiropractic patients. The Yankees are hiring a team chiropractor. My chiropractor is amazing, says center fielder Johnny Damon. I just hope the team seeing the chiropractor translates into better results on the field, not just for me, but for the entire team. Cindy Crawford, model, actress, chiropractic patient. Once we had Presley and Kea, it was only natural to have regular checkups after they were born and go for regular checkups to keep them healthy. Richard Gere, actor and chiropractic patient, benefiting from regular chiropractic adjustments. Bob Hope, actor, very famous chiropractic patient. I remember his stuff. And what exactly does a chiropractor do? So chiropractors detect and correct vertebral subluxation. And this is really showing that this is a pinched nerve, that this bone was pushed backwards, closing off this opening, and this is giving you what we might call a pinched nerve. The definition of a vertebral subluxation is a minor misalignment between the bones of the spine, causing nerve interference and a loss of health. Just like an illness shows a medical doctor changes on X-ray, MRI, blood work, and symptoms, we have physical findings also to determine subluxation. One being restricted motion or stiffness of the lower back, soft tissue swelling, pain and tenderness in and around the neck, the middle back, and lower back. Postural abnormalities like a head tilt, shoulders that are unlevel, and uneven hips. Even something like a forward head carry where your head is too far forward or back. Bilateral scale weight unbalance. If you were to step on two scales that were independent of one another and you were leaning on one more than the other, that would be indicative of a spinal imbalance. We also look for temperature changes in the neck and back. When spinal bones are out of alignment and they're inflamed, there's heat changes. It's hot from the inflammation. We also rely a lot on spinal x-rays. Not all, but many of us do. And a spinal x-ray will show you the misalignment. It shows that there's a loss of neck and back curves. It also shows the presence of osteoarthritis, which is why x-rays were very, very beneficial. And then, of course, subluxations show up with nerve problems. That would be numbness or weakness in your arms, your hands, your legs or feet. Reflex changes and muscle atrophy of muscle groups could be very indicative of subluxations, spinal misalignments. So why is taking care of your spine so important? Why? Because it protects the delicate spinal cord and the spinal nerves. If there were no spinal nerves exiting from between the bones of your spinal column, other than having pain and stiffness, we would not exist. Trust me. A big bottle of Advil can treat pain and stiffness. However, when your spine goes out of alignment, it eventually causes nerve interference. It pinches those nerves and nerve damage, and this will ultimately cause dis-ease and symptoms. So many of you out there can have a spinal misalignment affecting the nerve and not feel it in your back, but you'll feel it in the extremity, or you'll feel it in your feet, or maybe you'll feel it in your stomach. These spinal misalignments left uncorrected can and will lead to an untimely death. It's not just pain, it's dysfunction and disease, spinal alignments. In the beginning, the purpose of the nervous system is to develop the human. So this little image that I wrote on here shows your mom and dad having each cells. They each contribute 24 chromosomes to this one cell, the zygote, and then this cell divides into 3, into 6, into 18, into a group of cells called a blastomere. This blastomere is going to be your brain. And this is all in like the first 6 to 8 weeks to 12 weeks of development after conception. And then what happens is you form this thing, looks like a brain, but it's really called the notochord and the spinal cord. And this is the beginning of your nervous system before anything else is visible when a baby is developing. It's called embryology 101. Now, what happens? The brain and the nervous system form the brachial and the lumbar plexuses. And those are the nerves which coagulate or get bigger that go into your hands and into your feet and into your legs. Because remember, the brain's going to control your hands and your feet. And those nerves have to be very thick and lots of them to control all the movements of the hand and the feet. But it all travels down through your spinal cord. There's no bones here yet, people. This is all nervous tissue. Then what happens is, within about 3 months or less, the organ buds begin to show, developing each organ separately and connecting them to the centers of control located in your brain. So there's, you got the brain. These are the organ buds that are coming off. Lung buds, liver bud, heart bud, stomach bud, kidney, spleen, and so on. Up in your brain is a center that's going to control the lungs and control the liver and control these different organs. So you have one organ, one nerve, and one area in the brain to control the organ. Still, no skeletal system. Now what happens is these organs develop and mature in a very short time. One spinal level, one nerve, one organ, all connected to the centers of control within the brain. And this is a little more detailed of what is covered. Your cervical, first C1, head, eyes, ears, and autonomic nervous system. That controls all your digestion, breathing, and heart rate. C2, your sinuses and ears. C6 and 7, that's the brachial plexus. Shoulders, arms, hands, and also to the thyroid gland. T2, a little down the spine, top of your shoulders, and feeds your heart and lungs. T5 and T6 controls the stomach, liver, and spleen. T8, 9, and 10, thoracic, as you're going down towards the lumbar, we're now controlling the pancreas, the gallbladder, the kidneys. L2, T12 through L1, small intestines. L2 through L4, large intestines, your bowels. L4 to S1, legs, knees, feet. S1 to S5, your sexual organs, all traveling down your spinal column. So what happens is, once this is becoming, more and more pronounced, the spinal bones and the skull finally form to protect the delicate brain, spinal cord, and spinal nerves. So the brain is protected by the skull, and these black rings are your spinal bones. And what's happening is now the body is going to protect those nerves with the bones. Spirit has been busy molding matter, and finally, after 9 months, the human being is born. So that's amazing to me, in 9 months, that this can happen from just those one cell from mom and dad and everything that happened here. And it's all connected through the spine to the brain, back to the body, up to the brain. And hence we have a human being. This is Gray's Anatomy. This is a chart of the autonomic nervous system. And this is something that all doctors study from. So medical doctors know this, okay? On the left side, you have the brain stem and the spinal cord going all the way down, okay? And this would be the brain stem, this would be the middle back, and this would be the lower back. This autonomic nervous system you see here, this is a group of ganglions or neurons that are located alongside the spinal cord, and these control the autonomic nervous system. And what autonomic means, this is the innervation of all of the organs in the body, and this is what would be the automatic things: the breath, the heartbeat, the contraction and relaxation of small muscles, your pancreas, secreting enzymes, your liver cleansing and doing what it does, all the way down to your stomach, to the acids that are secreted, to your spleen, to all of your immune systems, your glands, your tissues. These actions are created autonomically. So this is the autonomic nervous system, but it has to travel through from the brain to the autonomic nervous system through the cord. And this is where we can have problems. We can get pinched. The central nervous system controls all of your bodily functions by either stimulating or inhibiting various organs and systems. So this chart shows the two nervous systems which are fighting for dominance all the time. You have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic, even though it sounds like it should be sympathetic, this is your fight or flight. This is the one that gets you out of a pickle. You're at the watering hole and the tiger shows up. He eats one of your friends and he's coming for you. And you're going to have, your pupils are going to dilate, your mouth's going to go dry, your heartbeat's going to race, your bronchi, your lungs are going to open up, they're going to dilate. You're going to inhibit all peristalsis and secretions because you don't need to digest food. You got to run. Converts glycogen to glucose, produces adrenaline, and inhibits bladder contraction. This is what happens when you run and fight. Everything speeds up. On the left side here, we have the parasympathetic. This is when the tiger leaves, you feel safe, and you're home in your cave, and now you're hungry. You get saliva flow. Your heartbeat slows down. Your bronchi starts to close up and constricts a bit. You now have stimulates peristalsis and secretion so you can start digesting food. It also stimulates the release of bile and it contracts your bladder. This is called the feed or breathe. So all the nervous system either speeds things up or slows things down. And what's important to understand about this is you can't have them working both at the same time. You can't be accelerating your heartbeat at the same time decelerating it. You can't be dilating your bronchi at the same time you're constricting it. This is the source of a lot of illness and problems in everybody. And by the way, medicine is only treating these, they call them symptoms. Medicine is doing drugs to speed up your heart or slow it down. They give you inhalants to either open up your lungs or slow or close them down. They either stimulate peristalsis or they inhibit peristalsis with drugs and Tagamet and protease inhibitors. I could go on and on. This is how they create all their drugs, is by looking at the function of these organs. But the problem with drugs are they're only treating one part of it. They're not looking at the whole organism. And thus, you can create other problems as a result of that. All right. When spinal bones are aligned properly, there is a complete transmission of nerve impulses from the brain to all parts of your body. This equals good health. And these are three vertebral segments, V1, V2, V3. These are the openings where the nerves come out. You see this big hole, and those are good alignment. So those holes are nice and wide and open. Now, this is what happens when you have a pinched nerve or a misplaced vertebra. There's V1, V2, and V3. And now the opening where the nerve came out has been changed in its shape. On an x-ray, we call this a figure 8 deformity. It looks like an 8 because the oval is now moved and it's pinching the nerve. This is creating the problems with the nervous system, with the organs, with your hands, with your feet. Depends on where the bone is and what area it controls. The brain is connected to each and every tissue cell in the body. This information must travel down the cord and then back to the brain. So this little chart shows you that there is a flow of information which is produced by the brain. It travels down your spinal cord, goes out to the organs. The organs take the information and then they do whatever it is they're supposed to do. And then they send information back up to the brain so the brain can control and coordinate these functions. Without the brain controlling and coordinating, none of these functions would happen. That's why you cannot cut nerves. If you cut nerves, people die. But what's happening is spinal subluxation is creating an interference to this flow of energy. And when you interfere with the flow of energy, you get sickness, disease. When flow is proper, you have the brain has the intelligence, you have 100% flow, and then your tissue functions 100%, and that equals perfect health. But subluxation, shown in this red line here, here's the brain, 100% intelligence, 30% of the flow is lost because of a pinched nerve, subluxation. Now you're only getting 70% in the tissue cell. This could be a liver cell, a heart cell, a lung cell, could be a stomach cell. Now, without the proper innervation, the flow is lost. You've got 70% function down here. And then this cell can become sickened, weakened, and it can die and it can be damaged because it's not getting enough life force. And then, of course, that flow can be interrupted as it goes up to the brain the same way as it goes down to the tissue. This, my friends, is the crux of the matter. These subluxations, depending on where they're located, top of your neck, base of your neck, middle back, lower back, pelvis, if these subluxations are there, you might have a problem in your feet, your hands, your head, your nose, your sinuses, your breathing, your sexual organs. And a doctor will never tell you about this. An MD does not look at this as a cause of disease. Remember that. They ignore this. They say that subluxation exists, but it doesn't affect your health. Don't they know anatomy? Haven't they read and looked at what a pinched nerve can? They'll go to the chiropractors, but they don't want you to know it for some reason. I think it's that town that's built over the cliff. They just don't want you to know because you won't need them as much. All right. This is a better way of looking at another analogy. Your brain, your spinal bones, and the body are similar to an electrical circuit at home. What happens if you overload the circuit a fuse will blow, right? You know, you go to your panel in the garage and you see all your, the power comes in from the power company and it goes through those circuits and it's distributed to all your rooms. Well, if you overload a room, the fuse blows, right? Your spine's the same way. These appliances on the circuit that blew the fuse are replaced by stressors like pain, job stress, family stress, financial stress, anger, impatience. So the brain is an electrical circuit which has to make a complete continuation from the brain to the organs back up to the brain. And in the form of your home, if you don't unplug some of the appliances in the kitchen, you can keep putting that switch on as many times as you want. If you don't take some of the load off, the fuse is going to blow. And that's the same way your body works, except instead of it being appliances, it's your spouse that you're unhappy with or pestering you about something. You're suffering with financial worries. Your in-laws are moving in. Fox News or CNN is putting out things you don't want to hear and you're angry over that. Maybe you've got some health problems. Maybe you're fearing some job loss, or maybe you had an injury like somebody hit you with a car. That subluxation is now, you got to get this off the load for you to keep that circuit clear. There's too many stressors, blow the vertebral subluxations. Bones actually move out of place when you're under enormous amount of stress because the muscles that support it will become spasmodic and eventually they can pull and wrench the vertebra to the side without being hit by anybody, you guys. Stress. When these stress circuits overload a fuse, your spinal alignment will blow and you'll get sick. Just like flipping the switch to turn the lights on, chiropractors, by adjusting misplaced vertebra, restore the power back to the body. An adjustment turns the power back on and restores the body's ability to heal. In order to stay healthy, you must do things to keep yourself healthy each and every day for the rest of your life. Nothing is stationary. Health is not stationary. You're either moving towards health or you're moving away from health. Do you really understand this? So these are the 6 pillars of health that I think are critically important, along with getting a good chiropractic examination. First would be the law of nourishment, the law of movement, the law of internal and external cleanliness, the law of rest and recuperation, positive thoughts and control of your emotions, and a functioning spine and nervous system. 6 pillars of health: food, exercise, cleanliness, rest, positive thoughts, a functioning nervous system and spine. First one, law of nourishment. Come on, you all know this one. Fruits and vegetables, lean protein, super important. 75% of your diet should consist of these. Fruit and vegetable diet, eat less sugar, fat, less dairy products, less processed foods, and eat more complex carbohydrates. Law of movement. Nature will eliminate that which is not moved. Most stiffness and arthritis are because many people violate the law of simple movement. You may have the very best nutrition. However, movement is the distributing agent of the body. Movement carries the nutrition to the cells, and movement carries away the toxins. We must move every body part every day in every way. If you need a handout on stretching, you can send us an email. I'll give you a handout on stretching. But arthritis can be pushed back by moving and exercising the joints daily. Join a yoga class. The law of internal and external cleanliness. It's called the law of sanitation. Most persons understand the importance of showering every day, but few people treat the inside of their body as good as the outside. You should perform cleanses like colonics, herbal teas, juice fasts, and fruit and vegetable cleansing. Excuse me. You should perform cleanses like many people from other cultures perform rigorous cleansing regimens, too numerous to explain here. We recommend the CT Interclean diet, which is available at the front desk to our patients. Do not try any cleanse without consulting with your doctor first. Poisons are friends, and we had poisons for a long time, and you want to get rid of them. You might be very unhappy for a while, so you might want to do it with medical clearance. The law of rest and recuperation. It is a law that the body needs sufficient rest and recuperation in order to maintain good physical and mental health. Most fatigue, depression, mental confusion, muscle soreness are caused by not getting enough sleep. Animals know when to sleep, but we humans do not follow our normal inclination to sleep. We stay up late watching TV. We artificially light our world way past dark, and this confuses our circadian rhythms of rest and wakefulness. Suffice to say, if you need an alarm clock to wake up, you are probably not getting enough sleep. Positive thoughts and control of your emotions. It is a fact that thoughts must either be positive or negative. Positive thoughts build us up and help us to be healthy. Negative thoughts are like poison. They tear us down and the things down around us. So be positive. An optimist will live 5 to 10 years longer than a pessimist. Anger, resentment, criticism, jealousy, vanity, gossip, slander, deceit, selfishness, these all produce disturbances in the body leading to illness and disease. We are having a Raise of the Dawn class led by my brother, Todd Rissacker, and me, Dr. Tread. We are having 8 times per month, and we'll be having a Raise of the Dawn study group. There is no cost to join the group. A Raise of the Dawn textbook will be needed, and they will cost $15. The laws of the body, the laws of the mind, and the laws of the soul will be studied and discussed in depth. A 20-minute guided health image will end each class. This will be presented by Dr. Rissacker. The group will be mediated by Dr. Rissacker and Dr. Todd Rissacker, who are certified concept therapy instructors. Sign up at the front desk. Reservations are mandatory, or you can contact the office 772-692-7899, and you can get in and see if it's something, you can make an appointment for the, you can make an appointment for it. There you go. There's the phone number, 772-692-7899. Remember, a healthy functioning spine and nervous system is incredibly important for the function for your life and to be healthy and happy. Chiropractic adjustments ensure that this free flow of energy remains uninterrupted, and thus your body will be able to protect and heal itself. Chiropractic adjustments also correct spinal misalignment, which can and does cause pain and stiffness. Now, if you're still listening and watching this presentation, and you look at this image, this blue body with this spine, why would you not want that spine to be healthy, in proper alignment, and be flexible and have all the right positioning? And, it's something that you can't do on your own, people. I can't fix cavities on my own. I have to go to a dentist to have him look at my teeth, or look at my teeth. And the same thing goes with spinal alignments, these subluxations. You can't treat them on your own. I don't know if I'm out of alignment, and I'm a chiropractor. I have to go to the chiropractor and see, checks my feet, feels me for pain and tenderness, does a range of motion, knows my areas because they took x-rays in the past, makes a correction, real gentle, and imagine that. A gift for you. Our spinal checkup costs over $300, but for you, it's at our expense today. All you got to do is call the number here, tell them that you saw the presentation on the internet, or you saw it through your email, and you'd like to come in and get a free consultation and we can probably even hook you up with some x-rays, okay? I just want you to know that it's a gift. It's for you, and if you'd like to do it, you let us know. Give us a call. We will help you out. And I want to thank you for helping us to make a happier and healthier planet. So much. This means so much to us. I want to thank you.